got you into singing?
Not last year, but the year before, end of the year, my brain was like, do it. It was like an inner child thing. I've always wanted to sing, but I just believed that I wasn't good at it.
But at school and stuff, did you do like choir?
No, I tried to get into the choir and it just never came back to me. So I thought I was bad. And then I just never did it. And then as I'm older, there was something inside of me that was like, do this for 3 months. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do it because you're annoying me. And it's a lot of fun. A lot of humility. It's actually very frightening.
Yeah. But surely you would have, maybe growing up, had your parents, your brother, someone telling you that you actually can sing.
No, I had the opposite.
Was it just inside the shower?
No, your brother's supposed to tune you, you know? He's like, you're making a racket. And I'm like, But that's a sibling response, right? You know?
But now since that you've started, obviously you're getting good feedback.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of imposter syndrome. I'm sure you know, like, you know, you think you sound good, but then you also don't want to be too arrogant and be like, oh, I can. But then you bring yourself down. And then like... Isn't
that a tricky line to walk?
It's the worst.
To be humble, but to also
give yourself credit.
Believe in yourself, believe in your, whatever you're trying to do, believe that you can achieve it. But then also that imposter syndrome does come in. And then also, I don't want to seem arrogant. I don't want to seem like I'm better than what I actually am. Because also... then there comes the embarrassment of, 100%. I think I'm good, but actually I'm bad.
That's the worst. Imagine you're bad at that and then you stand up and you're like, I'm the best. And everyone's like, but then we're going back to people's opinions. So I think like for me, one of the hardest things is because my teacher,
singing coach.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's the best. So she would just praise you and she's like, that was amazing. Let's just try this here. You know, let's make it into your own thing. And I don't really say no to an opportunity. So she tells me like, we have this showcase. Do you want to do it? No, I don't, but I'll do it because I know it's good for me. And I know, like, I enjoy the thrill of, you know, doing something like that. I wouldn't say it's hard for its own reason. Doing something hard that you wouldn't necessarily do. Never in a million years would I think I would stand up on stage and sing. I still think imposter syndrome is still there. I won't go out and do karaoke. If people ask me to do it, I won't do it. But if I'm on stage or something, then you have to because you've committed, you know.
Yeah. So now you obviously, and it's interesting because you won't do, as you mentioned, the karaoke, but you'll do singing in public. Is it maybe because karaoke is kind of just play and then the singing in public is, well, she's here to do this, so you can put more of a performance on. Whereas karaoke, if you put a performance on, people are like, that's weird.
I think if I had a tequila or two, I could definitely give a performance. One of those performances where you're singing in front of your mirror in the room when no one's around, but then on stage. I reckon I could, but we're not there yet.
So where are you in your singing journey?
I'm only getting to a point now where I'm actually enjoying the sound of my voice. Only now am I starting to actually hear what I sound like. And actually, I can hit a note here. Obviously, I'm not perfect, but I'm like really proud of the growth that I've made. Because you can see it. You can see it like looking back a year where, it's just so much. It's really, really just a very humbling experience. Really humble.
Have you always tried in your life, if you look back at the stage of your life, like reinventing yourself?
Always. I think that's one of the things, like, I don't know about you, but I'm quite hard on myself. Like, if people think I'm being mean to them, I'm like, I'm double as hard to myself. And it's terrible. Like, why do we live like that? Why, you know, and we give so much grace to other people, but we don't give it to ourselves. I think over time, I do like to reinvent myself. I don't know if it's ADHD. I've never been diagnosed, so I'm just assuming. But I remember in school, I didn't like doing sport at school. I didn't like sport at school. I did hockey, I did squash, I did netball, I did swimming, I did diving. I did all of it. I hated it all.
Can you pull that a bit closer?
I can. Hello?
Yes.
Is it better?
Better.
Or louder?
Perfect.
Oh, no. Okay. So then I found like horse riding, then I found jiu-jitsu. And so it keeps changing over time. And the more I just learn, the more I change, right? It's insane.
That reinvention, do you think it's more to do with the ADHD or maybe more to do with the putting yourself in those uncomfortable positions because you just want to be better and you want to, you know, forcefully grow?
I think it's both. If I'm honest, I think it's both. Because with a little bit of the ADHD, you need the stimulus. So you go and find things that are exciting for you. which is why school is so hard, because it's not interesting, it's not stimulating, and I did struggle in school. But again, I'm not diagnosed, I'm just assuming. So there is this need. I mean, I started knitting and now I've just put it at the top of my shelf kind of thing. However, if I do find something, I'm honing it in, like I'm invested. But I think from reinventing myself, it's like you look back at past experiences, for example, and if you can look back and feel some guilt in decisions you made, I think you've grown. And it's a bit counterintuitive because you think like that's not growth. But if you didn't feel guilty for the bad things you've done, for example, then something's wrong there. You know, I think if you feel bad for the things you've done, it's a good thing. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know, because there's some level of growth to say like, ooh, I didn't like that. But again, like that version of you doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. Like it doesn't exist. Who you are now is it. So yeah, it's very interesting. And you yourself, would you say you reinvent yourself often, or are you quite like routine oriented?
I'm definitely routine oriented within the reinvention. So it's almost like with bodybuilding, it was bodybuilding. Then I kind of had that interest in boxing for a little bit, and then I put absolutely everything into that. Then now moving into the cycling and the running, everything goes into at stages. Like for like the past 8 weeks, it was cycling. Now it's moving more into running. So there's always that routine and that discipline built into a particular thing. And then because I know I'm never going to be some massive professional athlete or whatever. So
well, listen, you could, but
I could.
But the dedication.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, okay. We are,
I get you.
Yeah, you
I
get
get you.
me.
I get
like,
you.
I know I could if I had to. Like now, maybe at 28, I don't know if I could obviously go play professional rugby. Like that's pretty much impossible. But anything I could put my mind to, I could probably do it. Yeah.
Sick peptides.
But at the end of the day, it was discipline built into. Because I mean, I treat my training as if it is me being a professional. Obviously, sometimes time constraints and whatever, I can't do it the exact same amount. But I do treat it like I see my running now as I'm a professional athlete. I put as much focus and attention on it and tailor my life around that. I mean, I tailor my training or my life more around my training than around my business.
Do you feel like sometimes a bit of an imposter? Like, I never believed that I was a professional athlete, and then I would be training like one, and then people would be like, yeah, but you need to recover. And I'm like, I'm not a professional athlete. Like, I don't need to. So do you feel a bit of an imposter syndrome where you train like an athlete, but, you know, you kind of would say you're not one? You know what I mean? Like a professional.
Yeah, I do feel almost in everything.
Yeah.
So like with my business, seeing the growth, I often have this thought of like, someone's going to come knocking at the door and be like, give it back.
Okay.
Like that kind of
You're scared it's not like yours.
Yes, like that feeling of, so maybe like everyone to a certain degree has been given help.
Yeah.
Through, like for me, I
Parents
would say, parents. My dad's definitely helped me in certain aspects to be able to start my own businesses and all of that. So sometimes there's also imposter syndrome and that was like, I don't deserve it.
Yeah.
But everyone to some degree has been given help.
But so it's funny you say that because I've struggled with that as well. Like, well, I don't deserve it because, you know, I didn't start it alone. And I feel like there's this pressure to, you know, if you're going to be successful, you got to start from like grassroots kind of thing. Like nothing else counts. But I do believe that in order for a family to grow, that they have to pass down knowledge, right? Like my dad does that. My dad passes down his knowledge. And even though I'm not interested in business, I know stuff. I know quite a few things. And even though it's not cash, it's a skill that you're learning. So it's something that's passed down. I think, you know, for example, there are families, there are fathers who have really grown from the bottom up, and they are so happy to give their kids money. The reason for that is because they never had the help. They would have loved the help. And so there's that fight between, oh, well, you don't deserve it, and between, well, you know, but my dad really struggled. You know, and it would be an insult to him to live a mediocre life because I don't want to ask for help because I feel like I don't deserve it, you know. So I hear you on that. There's a lot of imposter syndrome.
But it would also be stupid to not accept the help. Like if you really want to achieve great things in life, let's say it's maybe not a family member. Let's say you did come from nothing.
Yeah.
And you get given an opportunity where maybe you also do feel like you don't deserve it, but you're going to take it because it's an opportunity. Just because it's coming from a family member doesn't mean that now you must turn it down.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's where people kind of get mixed up. I also think that just people don't understand. I think a lot of people associate happiness with money. You know, one thing I've noticed is, you know, funny because I believe actually like you have a price to pay either way. So if you want to be successful and do well for your family, there might be a realization of I might not be around a lot. You know, as a father, I might be traveling to try and get this business up and running. Or as a mother, it becomes a lot because, you know, you're looking after the kids all the time and he's never home. So maybe there's an emotional unavailability there. Whereas, and, you know, dare to say, I'm probably, this is just an assumption and I could be completely wrong, but it's just, you know, maybe, I mean, these are things I've just thought about. That when you come from, I don't want to say low income, but, you know, like a good home with both family, you know, they work their 24-hour jobs, you have your family there, you know, and I'm not saying it's perfect. But I've noticed that tight-knit families are the ones that really help you grow. You know, you really feel that community and the belongingness, and you feel like it's a strong pedestal to grow up from, you know.
But then
on top of,
just to try and question, you get the support, you get maybe more love, you get maybe more attention from a father figure, mother figure, whatever, but then you might not be getting the business advice because there might be someone that's employed by someone else. So you might be getting certain, you know, community values and all of that.
Absolutely.
Which then can help you, but then maybe just make you reciprocate that further in life, as opposed to maybe your dad's working all the time and he teaches you the value of maybe you working hard, sacrifice and
Absolutely.
all of that.
I think there's a positive in everything.
Yeah.
I think there's a positive in everything. I think I was just linking to the fact that money is not what makes you happy.
Absolutely.
I mean, everyone's like, I'd rather cry in a Ferrari. I don't think you understand. Like, I don't think like you want that really. People say that, but I don't think they do. They really don't. But that's because I don't think they've ever had it.
Do you think anything makes you happy?
I think happiness is a unrealistic goal to have. I think content is the goal, you know, where you're not worried about anything. Well, not worried, but, you know, you have some anxiety because you got goals to achieve, and, you know, I feel like it's a normal state of being is content. You know, you're doing this and you're working towards goals. I wonder if that's like a patience thing. Because for me, I'm like, I want to be there now. But then I have to be present, you know. You have to be present in order to get there. So I wonder if it's also just a patience thing, you know.
Yeah, it's tough because when you're seeking happiness, you'll never find it because you're constantly thinking about things that are making you unhappy. When you relinquish, you know, the desire of trying to seek happiness and accept, I think maybe then you could actually become closer to maybe not feeling happiness, but feeling, as you mentioned, contentment and being satisfied. Because when you chase something to find happiness, you're then aware of...
It doesn't last forever.
Yeah, and it doesn't last forever. I mean, we see the novelty of things wear off so quickly. A new car, okay, cool. I drove 10Ks now, that's boring.
Yeah, now I know my car.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What's next? What's something else? I lived in this house. Now it just feels like a house. It's my house. Yes, it's bigger than the one I was living in previously, but it's just my house now.
Yeah.
So I think it's the human condition to seek happiness. And I think maybe for me, myself at least, because everyone is different, when I am more goal-oriented, I feel more content.
Yes.
So when I'm actively striving towards something,
Yeah.
I feel more content. It doesn't matter what facet of life it may be. And I was thinking this the other day is most people, like let's say you're sitting at home on a Sunday afternoon, you're a bit bored. That may be just because you don't have something that you're working towards. You might not be have this driving force. Like, yes, maybe it's a Sunday afternoon. You don't have to do work.
Yeah.
But there's that desire of, no, okay, tomorrow's coming. I get to do X, Y, and Z to further my goal. Whereas most people are they're sitting watching TV, and tomorrow they're dreading having to go into the job or do whatever is, you know, bring them that anxiety because they don't have a drive in a particular area.
Do you think it's that, or do you think some people just don't have jobs that they like? Because it's hard, hey? I just think there's so many
and people
factors.
are so different, because I know people that have jobs that they don't like. They are genuinely more content people than maybe what I am, but there's still a lot of unhappiness.
Do you think it's because they work for someone and you don't necessarily work for someone?
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, you always work. Like, there's always work.
Yeah, no, sure.
And, you know, like, let's say I'm editing a video for a client. I still I don't actually, depends how busy I am, if I see it as work or not.
Get you.
But I never think, I have to go to work tomorrow. I've obviously had to change my mindset, and fortunately I've reframed how I think about things. But I've never, I feel guilty sometimes because I'm like, for the ability of me being able to run my own business.
You feel guilty?
Yeah, I feel guilty because I'm like, I get to do, essentially, not really, but I get to do whatever I want. And other people don't. Like, I just feel sorry for people because...
No, of course.
Like, that's why I feel guilty. I'm like, how can I be so lucky to have, create my own freedom, create my own life, where other people are just, sucked into like this quagmire of the 9 to 5.
I wonder if... do you think maybe you feel guilty because society has said, go to school, finish varsity, get a job? And because you're not doing exactly that, you're like, I'm a bit out of place. I feel a bit guilty. Yeah, this isn't...
What I've thought about in that guilt...
You can't really discuss with other people because it's different, right?
Yeah, like they might not understand where I'm coming from. And it's tough because, my dad owns his own business and I've often had these thoughts. Like, let's say it's a Friday afternoon. Even if I woke up early and worked, I know my dad finishes 3:30. I will be at 2:00. I'll be like, I'm done for the day. And then I feel guilty. I'll be like, how can I not outwork my dad?
Because your dad set the precedent.
Yeah.
Which isn't a bad thing.
Which isn't a bad thing, but it's also an unhealthy mindset for me to be at because I might have woken up at 3 that day and done like 5 hours of really deep work. But you're comparing
yourself to your
dad.
But
I'm comparing it to my dad. Yeah. So like there's unhealthy aspects of that, but it's also... Huh?
It's also kind of healthy.
It is healthy because I've seen people whose dad or mom or whoever didn't... have maybe their own business or they didn't have something that was theirs and they're working for someone else and they might be more lazy or they might not be as driven. So yes, there's this constant, am I working hard enough playing in my mind? But that hard work, within that comes those goals that I set myself and those things that I'm striving towards, which then in turn does bring me more happiness because I know I'd be far more unhappy if I was working for someone else.
Do you think sometimes you look at like the bigger picture? So I assume in your head you've got an idea for the end goal. Do you think you sometimes look at the end goal instead of just looking at the step in front of you? Like there's this quote that says, don't look at the whole staircase. Look at the first step. Sometimes if you look at the end goal, you're like, I'm never going to get there. Because it's not palatable. Smart goals, small things that are going to eventually achieve that, right?
Yeah, so I'm not much of a planner.
Okay.
Like, I don't plan, like, okay, where's my business going to be in 10 years, X, Y, and Z? Okay, these are the steps that we need to take.
You should plan. Do you know the quotes around planning?
I know. Like, in business sense, like, it's far smarter to plan in that way. Like, yes, I've planned things, but I haven't, like I say, okay, I always used to write every single morning. I actually haven't this year, but I'd write by 2026, 3 studios.
Okay.
So I would write that every single morning at the end of my journal, whatever. So like that was my planning, but like that's the extent of my planning.
Yeah.
But I'm always kind of just, okay, cool. What marketing are we doing this month? Those clients from last week, and you make sure that work's done. Okay, tomorrow this is... So I'm kind of like living month to month, but still planning for the future. And like if I'm buying something for the studio and upgrading, I would plan, okay, this is going to cost me that amount. Is that going to offset my cash flow? All of that. So like there is planning, but it's not...
It's not, I'm going to do this, and this.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to do this, and I'm going to do this. And so it's not entirely in detail. It's like, okay, I want to get 3 studios by then. Right now this is what's working, So also why change what's working?
But it also I know in school I didn't try as hard subconsciously because I didn't want to try and then fail.
Yeah.
Now, this is literally just a thought that came to my head. I don't know now if my lack of planning is maybe similar to that, where if I make all these plans and put them in motion and it fails, then I have failed with trying.
Yeah, fear to launch almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's possible. I can relate on a level where in school I felt stupid because I was bad at maths. I felt stupid, but I'd crack everything else, like Afrikaans was also a bit iffy, but we got better in matric. Even my Afrikaans mark was better than my maths mark. That's when and I'm not proud of that.
So you got a British flag in your in your bio.
Yes.
So who's your dad?
My dad is from the UK, but I was also born in Watford. I was born in Watford. We were there for 4 months, and then we just came back.
Where's Watford in the UK?
I don't know.
Have you ever gone back, visited?
I'm just very disoriented when I go. I don't know anything. I'm like, there's
that's
Big
a
Ben.
clear sign of ADHD. That's a massive indication.
Listen, I may not know where I am, but I'm pretty sure I'll get myself home.
Yeah.
I'm aware of my surroundings. Roads in other countries, no. Yeah, easy. Fine.
Yeah, okay.
But over there, no.
But back to you. Singing now. At what degree of discomfort are you putting yourself into? Like, let's say you got opportunity to sing in front of like 10,000 people, open for someone. Would you do that? Like, what level of discomfort are you seeking in the growth journey?
Yeah, look, I do have my own goals. I want to be able to just sing a cappella. I just want to be sitting around friends and just sing. I wouldn't actually do that because it's a little awkward.
We got mics and everything.
I haven't warmed up my voice today.
Fair. I didn't make you tea.
Yeah, no, it's your fault. So I think for me, I've had like this lady that I do sing with. She invited me to come sing for her son's birthday, and I was up there singing. It was the 21st, so there was quite a few people. That was nerve-wracking. But I'll tell you, it's the anticipation. So we actually did like a little, because I was just freaking out, and she said, okay, blow this balloon up. And I was like, cool. She said, sit on it. And I'm like, what? She's like, sit on it. And you like sit there and you struggle because you know what's coming. But you're like, I don't want to. And then you do it, and it's not so bad. And she said, that's exactly what it's like. She was like, you're anticipating the worst. Your anticipation is, oh my gosh, people are going to look at me and they're going to hear me sing badly. And that's not the case, because you're just going to get up and sing and get off. You've done it so many times now. And that's the thing, is you can never do something confident if you don't know what you're doing. You can be courageous and you can be brave, but you can never be confident in something you've never done. So
you've obviously done a lot of studying about the mind and psychology and everything. Why do you think as humans we would do that? Think about the worst case scenario. Is it just to prepare ourselves in case we did? I
think it's a self-preservation thing. I also think, I think everyone's just complex. I think for me, I don't want to embarrass myself. I don't want to put myself in a place of judgment. But at the same time, I'm not one to say no to an opportunity, right? So I say yes to an opportunity, and I'm happy to do it. No matter how much nerves, I don't prepare myself really for it, and then I just go in. That helps me because there's no expectations on my side. I like that. I do very well if I'm, for example, in my sport, if I'm being playful, I learn so quickly. You show me once and I'm fine, But if it's serious, it's going to take me a while because now it's pressure. So yeah, I think that it stems a lot from self-preservation and definitely a fear that someone has. I think most people fear judgment. I think social media has also contributed to that, because you feel that so many eyes are watching you, and they're actually not. Really.
Maybe just quickly scroll through. Well, obviously, if you're performing in front of them, more chance that they are watching you.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, no, 100%.
But also, you might bomb, or maybe not bomb, but maybe you don't give the performance that you wanted to.
Yes.
Then you go home and you think, oh, these people are probably talking about me. They're probably thinking about me. And then they go home and they're moving on to the next thing. Yeah. And it's, as humans, we always think we are the center of the universe.
And we're not.
And we're not.
No, we're not. In fact, people probably won't even talk about it. That's the thing, is you think everyone's going to go back. Yeah, it depends how bad it was. I know. So in the beginning, I noticed, and it still happens. But so when I would do jiu-jitsu, so I've taken a sabbatical because of my neck. But when I would do jiu-jitsu, the nerves were easier to handle because you can physically use the nerves. But in singing, you can't do that. You have to contain it yourself. I don't know how to contain that.
Yeah, because I guess the physicality is like some catharsis 100%. In your fears, whereas with singing, you can grip the mic a little bit harder. Yeah, what can you do?
I literally shake. I shake. I have to move around, otherwise you're just going to see me going. And also, usually I'll sing one song and then I'll sing a second song. The second song's better because I'm more relaxed. And you feel it in your throat, hey? And you can feel when you're nervous and you're trying to sing, it's putting pressure on your vocal cords. So it's breathe, try and get through this and it'll be fine. but I do enjoy it at the same time. So that's where I struggle, is my nerves and my fear of judgment. And also I just love to sing, if I'm honest. Like I just like to, I was always been told like I'm loud. So I think the best place to channel that is through a song, you know?
Yeah. And you find joy in, you know, maybe there's a little bit of anxiety or a lot of anxiety going into it. But then afterwards, once you've done it, once you conquered your fears, there's the, you know, satisfaction of that, and then the joy of singing. And, you know, all of that plays in, okay, I want to do this again.
Yeah. If you don't ruin it for yourself. So one thing, like, as I said, like, I'm very hard on myself. So I try not let those thoughts win. Often you'll see, like, I'm a big thinker. So often I have to interrupt my thoughts. I'm like, nope, we're not doing that today. We're not going into that today. Also, I'll just stop them and be like, okay, that's not very nice. Like, would you talk to your friends like that? No. You know, why are you so ugly to me? I thought we were on the same side here, kind of thing. So there's always a fight with the thoughts. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't.
But also I think as humans, like we all have thoughts that we catch ourselves thinking.
Yeah.
Or hopefully most people catch themselves. Some people just continue with them
they
and
just
act
let
on
them
them.
go.
But I've caught myself thinking bad, and then I will ridicule myself for thinking bad and think I'm a bad person, even though I stopped myself from thinking the thought.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can't control your thoughts. You can
Yeah.
you can obviously control your thoughts to a degree.
But you don't choose what comes in.
Yes. Like if it comes in and then you catch yourself, you're like, actually, no, I shouldn't be thinking that. Let's put that away. That's fine. But then I'll beat myself up for having that thought pop in randomly.
Yeah. That's interesting. Like, I think, and so then you feel like you're a bad person almost.
Yeah.
See, I get that, but I there's no thought that comes in. There's just me that's like, maybe I'm a bad person. You know, maybe you are. And but I think that's my brain working around, because I've denied the negative comments so many times. Now it's a question. And that question doesn't sit well, you know? So that's quite hard.
So then you have those, so let's say in my version, I have, stupid example, I see a girl at the gym and I have, let's just say, a bad thought about it. And then I stop myself, be like, Jessie, that's not conducive to the person you want to be. Disregard that thought. With you maybe have that negative cyclic thought process. You still then stop yourself from the negativity.
So I think what happens is so as soon as I think my brain asks that question, it goes back to everything bad I've done. Everything. It can be the smallest thing. It could be throwing my chewing gum on the floor by mistake. You know, not by mistake. I'll be honest. I'm going to be honest. And it'll be small things, and it'll be moments where, like, I think also I blame myself. Because I've made mistakes in my life where I've been in situations where I'm like, you know, Sascha, that wouldn't have happened if you just didn't engage. And then I take it all on myself. So then I believe I'm a horrible person. But then now recently my journey has been going back and trying to heal, you know, past mistakes, in the sense that, and for me it was never, obviously I've hurt some people, but I've always been apologetic, and I've always been sincere about my apologies, and upfront. When it comes to taking blame and, you know, splitting it neutral, I'm not good at that. And so for me, I think I'm the bad person because this situation played out because it's your fault, but it's not.
Very interesting, because I'm very similar. I'm exactly the same.
Yeah.
Where every single thing that goes wrong in a relationship, I'll be like, okay, that was my fault. Here's a second order. I haven't. There you go. I'll like
keep them coming.
If I think about maybe not friendships. Friendships, I can be a little bit
situationships.
Yeah. No.
More
so like a friend with like a male friend.
Okay.
If I did something wrong, I won't take all the blame. Like, let's say we both did something wrong. Okay. A situation comes up where we were both in the wrong at times. I can admit, okay, that person was wrong. But then when it comes to relationships with a female, like an actual relationship, I will always think I'm the one that was in the wrong.
Do you think that's because women like to gaslight people sometimes?
Definitely. Okay, no,
And I'm not
I don't want to say that.
I'm not. No. I mean that.
I was going to give an
blunt.
example. I was going to give an example, which I'm not going to do. So
Give us the example.
like, it's definitely true. I mean, I found myself questioning everything. Like, I was almost coerced into believing I was this terrible person.
That can happen.
And then I had to think. I was like, why am I so weak that I allowed myself to be tricked into thinking that I'm such a bad person and everything in the entire relationship was my fault? It was a very short relationship. I'm just saying that.
No, I get you.
So that it takes away other relationships and doesn't put, heat on that relationship.
I get you. No, you're good. You're good. I think one thing I think people don't do is accountability. They don't do accountability very well, because as soon as so one thing I've learned is, like, when you approach someone about your feelings, and you're like, hey, like, this is what hurt me, as soon as someone starts fighting back, that's where I'm like, what is going on here? Because this wasn't about you. And it's also about, there's so many things. I think it's deliverance, it's tone, it's how you go about it. If you do giving passive-aggressive remarks, he's not going to understand. He's just going to pick up that bad energy. So if you approach a man, your partner or something, you're like, hey, this is what I'm feeling, or this is what happened, and I perceived it like this, and can you help me on that? Like, I'm struggling. But I think there's also just this, I wonder if it's because I think we can both agree possibly that relationships today are very difficult. I understand people are complex, and maybe that's what makes dating hard, but I also just think we're at a point where men have been hurt by women and women have been hurt by men, and so they're very anti each other. When they meet up, there's not really a respectful line. And I also just think that what was the thought? Women, respect, accountability. And there's also this element of, so no one wants to be like they don't like the traditional roles anymore. So you'll often hear a girl be like, oh, well, I don't cook and I don't clean. Okay, so then what do you want? Like, what do you want out of a relationship? And I'm not saying like those are the things that are important. But for me, like, if I'm in a relationship and I love this man and he provides and he shows up for me, he defends me in public, we have hard conversations, he's loyal, all of these things, I would happily cook him breakfast before he goes. I'll happily have a hot meal waiting for him when he comes home, because why not? I'm not your slave. I chose to do that because I love you, right? So I think there's this lack of respect of, you've got to show up for me first, when it's really about meeting each other in the middle. And I just, I think I've just completely moved past the first one.
To your point though, I agree. Like, let's say you want to be a woman that disregards the cliche norm.
Fine.
And you want to go have a career. But then you also need to understand, okay, that means I can only have a kid later in life. That means that maybe there could be complications with the child, or it could mean that I'm then an older mother, and then later in life when the kid's in grade 1, I'm the oldest in the classroom or whatever. So there's trade-offs to everything. So you also need to have the thought of, I want to be a strong, powerful woman, but also I need to understand that by being a strong, powerful woman, I can't have a kid at 24 to 28 if I'm trying to build that career.
Yeah.
So there's also, you need to have that understanding of, okay, we're gonna not go the norm. We're gonna go against that, but then we're gonna be abnormal in other aspects where I'm super old, the kid's young, I can't play with the kid maybe.
Yeah.
So there's lots of trade-offs that come with that.
There's always a trade-off. I think with whatever decision you make, there's a trade-off.
Yeah.
I wonder if, I think that's also, given the way the world's going and social media, and there's a lot of, like I'm a powerful independent woman, and I don't, you can go do that. I don't mind, but I don't like what's going on, particularly like women like to bash men. And then like what I've noticed is men kind of degrade women. And so it's just unhealthy. And it's funny because these are the same women that actually want a partner, but they're treating them badly and they can't understand why relationships aren't working. And the same with guys. They're like, I don't understand. It's like, well, your following list literally looks like you went to a girls' school. What are you doing? And that's a big thing. I think social media needs to be discussed when things start getting serious, because social media, as much, people will go and say, oh, it's not a big deal, it's not real life. It's a big deal.
And social media is literally real
It's
life.
real life.
It's real life.
It's real life. So if you're posting birthday messages for your friends, but you don't post your girlfriend's going to feel suspicious. She's going to feel like, well, I'm not important. Why don't you want anyone knowing that, we're together? And usually the response is like, no, but it's private. But is it private or is it secret? So there's this, I think people fear relationships and they fear abandonment. And so, they don't fully commit because they are scared. And that's the risk you got to take in a relationship, is like, love is a decision and a commitment. Sure, it's a feeling, but that feeling ignites the commitment. Like, I love you and I will work on whatever I need to work on to be with you, right? If I can see this in the future, 100%. And I don't think people are willing to do that. I think they expect it to be easy. Relationships can be easy, but the people are hard. The people are complex because there's so many, two people bringing their baggage together, and you got to learn whether your demons play well with each other,
I think that's the biggest thing I've learned from, past relationships, is looking past certain things that you might find as a problem with the other person. There is no person on earth that is going to be 100% this idolized version of 100%. What you think your partner should be. There's not going to be any version of, that girl on Instagram with the perfect body, the good looks, the good personality, good with your friends. Her friends maybe are nice people. Like, not everything is going to work out like that. And I think I was almost in denial of that.
Happens.
Where I was just thinking, that character trait is a red flag.
Okay.
Like, obviously not red flag in the sense of like
something to watch.
Those serious red flags.
Something to watch.
Yeah, it was just, not, okay, well, maybe she's got this personality trait. That's not the end of the world. Like, that's
one trait.
It's one trait. You can't now base an entire future with this person on this small little one trait.
It depends though. For me, if you have a bad quality, for example, if I get emotional, I'll cry. And if I get emotional, like, if I'm not being heard, I kind of get ugly, but I'm aware of it. And then I pull back and I'm like, listen, this is how I'm feeling. I'm getting really catty right now. And this is going to be unproductive, And I think people often don't think there's anything wrong with them. I think people think like, well, this is not a big problem. Like, love should be easy, so I'm going to leave because it's not easy. And accountability is the biggest thing. None of us are perfect, but it would be stupid to walk around like you are perfect, And it makes me laugh as well because people are like, oh, this person and that person and, she's this or he's that. And it's like, okay, so tell me, are you perfect? Do you go to church every Sunday? Do you wear long jeans and you don't show your skin off? Like, are you perfect? You've never hit anyone. You've never had a car accident. All these little things. Are you perfect? No. And people are so hard on each other. We're so judgmental to a certain degree because I wonder if it comes from a better place where we can see society can be better. I know, for example, when you're dating someone, right, you see the hidden soul. Jordan Peterson talks about the hidden soul. And it's the part of the person, it's the potential you see that they don't. And it's so real. Like, I mean, I've experienced it. And I'm just like, wow. Like, and you can see it and you wake up. For me, it was just so easy to wake up and support, right? And I think one thing I've always been certain on is like saying I love you is not easy for me. I've had one or two guys that I've, been dating, seeing, and they've told me that they love me and I couldn't say it back. And it wasn't because I wasn't interested. It was just because I wasn't ready. Like, I think you can still hang around and get to know someone before you can say that. But it's not something like I do say. And people will often just get into relationships because they're lonely. And that's also the boredom thing. People don't want to sit in silence. I would say I'm the same. I've gone through moments, like now I'm going through a time where I'm like, I'll play Age of Empires. I mean, I'm on semester break, so it helps. But I'm sitting there playing Age of Empires. Love it. But I know what it's for. It's a distraction, But it's better than going out and...
No, absolutely.
Fulfilling with people.
That's true. I last night actually had that thought, identical thought. I was cooking dinner, and then I'm like, no, let me put this podcast on while I'm cooking.
I do that.
And I was thinking, I'm like, Jessie, can you not even cook for 15 minutes without some other stimulus keeping your attention?
Bad.
And then I didn't.
Yeah.
But tonight I probably will. And it was just this realization of like, when I'm driving, there has to be music or there has to be this. You know, when I struggle to sleep, I'll listen to like piano or classical. And
I can put you on something for sleep.
Please.
Do you have a TV in your room by chance? Okay, you've got your phone, right?
Yeah.
Okay. On YouTube, there's black screen frequencies. It goes dark, but you hear these frequencies. Fall asleep in 10 minutes. I'm not joking.
So I do these like guided meditations.
No.
On Spotify. So like there'll be this.
They work.
I don't really do it with the men. I just prefer a soothing woman's voice next to me.
It's like nurturing.
Yeah.
It's nurturing. It's like, yes, hold me.
So it's like a 10-minute meditation where she's just like, you know, breathe, focus on your breathing and like a meditation thingy. And then like 5 minutes in, I'm passed out, sleeping.
Yeah, I like meditation because it brings presence. It brings you back.
But then sometimes I will be like, Jessie, this is another stimulus that you're adding. Just lie here. If you have to lie here for 20, 30 minutes, because I fall asleep really easily.
I don't.
I do. So
see, I had insomnia and hypersomnia at a stage.
So what's hypersomnia?
So insomnia is where you struggle to fall asleep. Hypersomnia is once you're asleep, you don't want to wake up. And so I was so exhausted from staying up for 2 hours that I would just sleep until like 10. That is not me. My dad was like, what is going on? He's like, wake up. And I'm like, I can't get to bed. But again, I wonder if it's blue screen. That's been really hard for me, is to try cut out blue screen time. I'm not perfect. Like, I'll read my book, and then for that, I mean, that also helps me sleep. And then other nights I'll be on my phone, you know, and it's trying to get rid of that.
I was looking at this cable. I thought it was this one. I was listening to an audiobook. Okay, I'll be honest. I listened to maybe the first chapter. I still need to continue. But it was
I'm the same. I'm a half reader.
Yeah, I'm a half listener because I was on my way home from holiday and I was driving. It was like 8-hour trips. I'm like, okay, let me listen to some audiobooks. But the book's called "You're Too Good to Feel This Bad."
Okay.
And it was actually really interesting, and I definitely want to get back into it, but it was more health related, and once I was back I got into more business books and stuff, so that's why I got off that. So it was, when you go to bed, you don't read in bed, you don't do anything in bed, you don't watch TV in bed.
It's supposed to be for sleep.
It's for sleep.
Your brain needs to be programmed for sleep.
If you're going to read, do you have a special couch or whatever that you read there?
I can sit on the floor if I'm honest.
Just don't read in bed. But reading helps me fall asleep, but I'm still programmed to sort of be, you know, thinking. Awake and thinking about things. I'll be honest, I haven't tried it, but I can understand it. But I know, like, I'll read 10 pages and
my dad's always told me that. He was like, never, because I remember, like, growing up, you'd see people working from their bed. My dad once walked in and he was like, don't do that. I'm like, what? He goes, when you work from your bed, your mind associates the bed for work, which means you won't sleep. Or
your work for sleep. your work will be shoddy.
You'll either be like really tired while you're working, or you really want to work while you're sleeping. But even just being in the same room, because the energy changes. You know, my dad runs his own business, and for him to turn around and be like energy and frequencies, I'm like, that's insane. Very spiritual, which is great. I mean, going on to frequencies. So one thing I did was, I mean, also going back to relationships, I think music, hip-hop, R&B and all of that have definitely played a role. In that, one thing I noticed was I kind of stopped listening.
That was a very good segue, I'll be honest. You did well there. To go from frequencies to music and go back to the original point of relationships.
And then, thank you. I'm professional
podcaster.
Not even. Let's go back to the other conversation. So frequencies, and I noticed like I didn't like the music. I would turn it off to the point where I would just drive in silence, or I'd play a house track because it's different, right? It doesn't got those lyrics. But when I gave it a bit of a break and I went back to listening, I actually didn't enjoy it. It really made me uncomfortable. It felt the energy was very like dark, and it made me just like, no, I don't agree with anything that you're saying. Like anything. Why am I even listening to this?
Would you say that's mainly hip hop?
Yes, absolutely. But that's like the main thing. If you look at all the artists, I'm the kind of person that believes that there was an article written on it. But a few years back, like 25 years ago, they had changed the frequency in hip hop music and all of that to a lower frequency. So you're absorbing the low frequency. It's very hectic.
And what does that do?
Essentially, it's kind of, I don't want to say, it's not like mind control, but it does numb you a bit to...
I saw a video on this the other day.
Yeah, it kind of numbs you a bit to, I want to say decision making and also just clear thinking. But the frequency itself puts you on a lower energy field. So when you're sitting on a lower energy field, you're going to feel things like shame. You're going to feel things like, anxiety and all of that. When you're on a higher energetic field, it ranges depending on where you are. It gets better. So listening to frequencies at night has helped me. I found this guy who creates his own house music with frequencies. It's amazing. They did say that you should try. So it was like a Christian page, and it's something that I'm like seeking, right? So they said, stop the hip hop and R&B for a month and then listen to gospel. Now, when people think of gospel, they're probably thinking of hymns and prayers that you'd sing in chapel or in church at school. But there are some really good artists out there that are not those gospels, but it's like house music and kind of pop, but the lyrics are pure. The lyrics are not there to make you think terrible things. It's not putting images of drugs and crime and, naked woman and all of that, and using women. And I think, they've definitely been on a mission to try and cause that disrespect. I don't know, maybe you can tell me otherwise, but for me, it seems like, actually, that's kind of a problem, you know?
And it's fascinating because you can sing about doing all these crimes, essentially. Almost everything is a crime.
Yeah.
And,
literally.
you mentioned the lower frequencies, and if it, just thinking logically, if you're listening to these lower frequencies and you might be more susceptible to negative thinking, susceptible to, have maybe less dopamine or whatever, you're going to be susceptible to going more into the matrix and falling prey to more consumerism and falling prey to more sugar addiction and falling prey to laziness and all of these things, which then feeds the whole, consumerism chain and makes the people that might be in control more powerful because you're giving them more money, essentially.
Yeah. Well, the people that are in control, I do believe that, for example, I know testosterone levels in men are low. Why is that? Why do they want that? Why do they want testosterone levels low? Why, for example, in America, why do they want to get rid of the gun laws, the Fifth Amendment? And I'm sure everyone's going to be like, why would you want guns? Because the criminals will get guns whether there's a law in place or not, and it's still there, whether you like it or not. And that's where I struggle. It's like people have these grandiose ideas like stop rape and stop this, and these are very hectic topics. And as a girl, I understand. Like, I'm not sitting here saying it's not bad. It's completely bad. But the reality is, in our country, where in the past 3 months, 22,000 people have been murdered, the reality is something's going to happen, right? The reality is that that's a threat.
With lower testosterone still. So
still
a threat.
Listen, I think South Africa's a bit different.
Yeah,
I think South Africa's a little bit different. We have more sun here as well. Than the UK, for example. And I think we have better food.
And I think we have less, obviously our people in power are still pretty sinister, but less less sinister than maybe what the people in the US in power are compared to us.
I think they just have more
money to
capital.
Be sinister.
They've got more capital, they've got more stuff. I mean, here, to be fair, they're going to get capital after passing the NHI law, right? Because everything's going to be free and they're going to just take all the money. So I think that I honestly think it's a complete ploy. It is. They do want men to be weak. Definitely want men to be weak. They want to get rid of gun laws. The gun laws, for example, in America, the Fifth Amendment was made by the founders. Basically, they said that when the government is against the people can rise up with arms and fight back. That is actually what the law is for, not for anything else. And why do they want to take that away? Because then you can't destabilize the control. You can't destabilize the power.
Just look at, was in Durban. Remember that uproar and where all the people in the areas who had arms and, came together.
22, with the lootings.
Yes, and they came together. And because a lot of them had guns and all of that, they were able to protect the people in the community. They were able to fight back a little bit.
Yeah.
And obviously that looting could have been planned the same way, but irrespective of it being planned or not, it happened. And people with the ability to fight back were fighting
Yeah.
back. And I mean, that's just a small situation that's very similar to if a situation had to arise where we had to go back into lockdown now. You know, I don't own a gun. I can't.
To be fair, I don't think anyone would go into lockdown now.
Yeah, that's
if
true.
we're honest. It's also really hard. Like, are you vaccinated?
I got the first one.
Is this a controversial question?
I had to travel
Oh, that's fair. Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah. So,
I really didn't want to do it, but then I wasn't able to go, so I was like,
yeah.
I'll get it.
So I refused. And even when we were going back to lectures, they were like, you have to get the vaccine. And I said, sorry. And she was like, okay, we want to see how many people will be online versus offline. More people were online, would rather be online than get vaccinated. And it's hard now because, you know, as someone like who is unvaccinated, right? Like, we were shamed a lot. We were told that we are the cause of this death and you're not doing your part and, you know, you can't come to the hospital because you're not vaccinated. Basically, you should die. You know, I mean, I think his name was Jimmy Kimmel from the US, talk show host. He literally said, the unvaccinated can die. So now it's, and you know, a lot of, it's funny because obviously I'm very controversial and I like to speak my mind. I had a lot of people attack me and they were like, this isn't right. That's not what's going on. But now if you're looking at the cases and what's going on now and the things that are being, you know, Pfizer's being sued and other things like that, you kind of want to turn around and be like, let's have a talk now. Come. And so it's really hard. Like, one thing for me and something that psychology has taught me, which really frustrates me, is I understand both sides. I will always understand both sides. And it's terrible because I'm feeling one way, but I get it. You know, I get it. But you shouldn't have told me I should have died, you know?
And it's funny because, okay, it's a bit of a blanket statement, but those people that maybe were super pro-vaccine and wanted you to die will also be the people that are judging you for not taking a vaccine or whatever. But then if you use the wrong pronoun with them, because it's those groups.
They're kind of interlinked.
They do.
I get you.
The people that were super, you know, the government's here for our best interest, the government's here to help us.
They never have been.
Yeah. Are the same people that are today being controlled by the government and, you know, manipulating the way that they teach the kids, manipulating the way that they are entering into society. And, you know, it's the same people, but you can't judge them. But it's okay for them
because
to
you
judge
have a wrong opinion. If you don't have the collective right opinion, you are wrong and you are going to be labeled a plethora of things.
And isn't it fascinating because it's self-preservation, it's, you know, evolution. People are always going to, most people.
This is going to be a very controversial statement. So the people who willingly got the vaccine, I'm not saying you're one of them, you know, can you understand the distinction I'm making? The people who are like, oh, check me.
Yeah.
This is a very, very controversial statement. I'm so sorry. But I believe, you know, you said, you know, kind of natural selection in a way. The people who were able to fight back and say, no, I'm not getting that, I refuse, I believe are a bit stronger. And I'm not just saying that because I was one and I'm like high almighty, but it's the fact that these people were able to reject what was being forced on them. I've always been like that. If you force me to do something, I'm not going to do it. If you ask me to do something, like if my dad was like, no, okay, not my dad, I'll always listen to my dad. But if my brother had to ask me, right? Because it's always that sibling, no, fine. If he had to ask me something, I'd be like, no, because you asked me to do it, right? And maybe I'm just defiant, but it depends on the day. So I would say that I'm always questioned when I'm being forced to do something. Because why are you pushing that hard? If it's so good, just let people go and get it. Why are you pushing that hard? And no one really asked that question. Why was it necessary for all of it? Also, did you notice that no one got the flu during COVID? No one got the flu. And people didn't die from the flu during COVID. Everyone just died from COVID. It's very strange because the previous year people were dying from the cold. But very strange. Very strange.
And it's difficult because, you know, you don't want to go against society, but there comes a point where what they're doing is just genuinely stupid. And so my situation was I really did not want to get the vaccine. My mom was pushing me to do it because she's a very rule-following woman.
My mom also got the vaccine.
Yeah, so she was pushing me to do it. I didn't want to do it. Like, she kept saying, come and do it, we'll get it done, whatever. And then I needed to travel. can't remember where it was, but I needed to go somewhere. And then she works at a school. She's like, okay, well, I've got you on the front of the list so you don't have to queue. Just makes it easier. I was just like, oh, you've been nagging me. I'll just do it.
Yeah.
And then I did it. But it was really almost against my will.
Yeah,
almost,
it was.
And to live in a society where those general freedoms are taken away.
Yeah. But and then you're shamed for it. You're shamed for not making that decision. But what happened to my body, my choice?
Yeah.
What happened to my body, my choice? No, you have to take it, otherwise people will die. Shouldn't the vaccine help you? And literally, I asked that to people and they were like, no, that's not how vaccines work.
The person that's got the vaccine should be safe then, irrespective of me.
I was told that that's not how vaccines work. And I looked at them a bit dumbfounded because now I'm like, maybe I'm an idiot.
But then why did you get the vaccine if that's not how it works?
If it doesn't work, if we all have to get it and that's the only thing that will keep us safe, so I'm sorry, then it doesn't actually work.
How much of that do you think is people just wanting to be a part of something and like needing a group, group think and just having something to believe in? Or it was, I don't know if it was like correct propaganda that really did well in weaker minds?
This is the thing is, I don't know. So the people who I know, so this is also very interesting amongst the fighting community. No one wanted to be vaccinated. They didn't want their bodies touched. Why? You got to ask yourself, like, what's wrong with these people? But I think it's an ability of questioning things. They're also very strong people mentally. So they're like, no, why? And so they'll ask questions. Like my dad's the same. My dad was a fighter growing up and he was a legend. He's kind of hectic. But anyways, in his own domain. And, he's a very critical thinker. And we took our precautions. I mean, we would do a grocery shop. We would come home. We would literally spray every item of food with sanitizer. We would clean the door handles after we've opened them. We would go shower. It was nuts. And then when we started learning about the whole bunch of hogwash, we didn't really care too much. I got COVID. My brother got COVID and he got it quite badly. And I also think that's dependent on the person. When I got COVID, I had like just really bad congestion and lethargic. And then I was like kind of like to my dad, like, Dad, I can't smell. And he was like, no, it's just because you're congested. And I was like, okay. Then we went and took a flight to the South Coast and I was leaning on my dad and I was all up in his space and went to the doctor at the South Coast. Actually, listen to this. Went to the doctor and she checked me for COVID and she was like, I don't think you have COVID. And I looked at her and this is my thing, is my intuition is so good. My gut is so good. So if someone tells me you're wrong, I'm going to say, And I looked at her and I said, She was like, I can give you a test for like peace of mind. I was like, cool. Went into the test. Next day, COVID. Positive. So what did we take? I took an ivermectin. I didn't feel any like worse. The only thing I felt was lethargy, walking up a hill. But I refused to believe. I was like, no, like hills are hard anyways.
I refused to. So it was just before I was going away in December. Must have been obviously December 2020. And I was sick and I refused to believe that it was COVID because I'm better than that. I'm too
like
strong
that.
to get COVID.
Get a little sniffles and denial immediately.
So then I went for a test because obviously we were going away and then it was positive. But I was getting a new, I don't know, it was a tow bar or something put on my car and it was in Pretoria. So I was like, well, I've got an appointment, I'm going. So I went. And then obviously at this stage you could still wear masks or had to wear masks. So I felt a bit safe that I wouldn't maybe infect someone else or whatever. So I went there and then they were like, okay, it's going to take like 3 hours. I'm like, okay, let me just go to Menlyn. I didn't tell anyone. Like if my mom heard that I had COVID and then went to Menlyn and walked around the shopping center with COVID, possibly infected. Maybe I shouldn't even be saying this, whatever. It was 4 years ago. Statute of limitation.
It's past now. And everyone's vaccinated.
I was just, hopefully not. Hopefully not.
Hopefully not, yeah. Fair.
But there were bad cases with the vaccine.
No, 100%.
But there also weren't, I didn't get any
side effects,
post-sickness or whatever after the vaccine. I didn't feel anything. So I was very fortunate. I still then ended
I'm not
up
even
getting
talking
COVID
about
afterwards.
straight after. I'm talking about down the line.
Yeah,
there's
knows?
a lot of
10 years time I'm going to be a zombie following the system.
I would check your heart first, that's what the vaccine is affecting, is the heart. What do they call it?
Myocarditis.
Myocarditis. The healthiest people who weren't supposed
all those
get
athletes.
sick. All the athletes, all the soccer players, they're all dying. No, and then I had someone say to me...
Is that still happening though?
Oh, and then I had someone say to me who was vaccinated, yeah, but, that's going to happen with a vaccine. Okay, well, people are going to die from a sickness then. If you're going to apply that same logic, apply it there too. No, but it's bad. Because people are dying. People are dying from a sickness.
Do you think...
Like, where does...
Like, people our age who now, we're in their mid-20s or whatever through COVID, and we're against the vaccine. We have kids. The kids have general vaccines, which have been, classified safe. Are now going to be slightly a little bit more anti the vaccine.
Apparently, they're trying to put mRNA into the food in America, for example.
Who's there? The people behind the system.
It's people that's connected to the agricultural department, that's connected to Big Pharma, because if you make people sick from the food, they're going to have to go to Big Pharma. Big Pharma's giving you medicine that doesn't actually fix the root of the problem, so you keep coming back. You keep paying them, right? So I know a guy who had severe depression, went to do hypnotism, therapy, all of it, antidepressants, anti-anxiety, none of it worked. Do you know what did? You know what did?
Changing his diet.
No. He went and did a guided mushroom retreat.
Okay.
And they gave him the hero dose, and he was, guided through, and it was a lovely ceremony. Fixed him.
Well,
so
how
that's
many
why they ban these
documentaries?
things.
Yeah, how many
That's why they ban these
documentaries has there
things.
been where, like, psilocybin with smoking addictions, how it can help people with smoking addiction?
Yeah.
How many, even if you look at weed, where
Parkinson's, brilliant.
Yeah, where places where people have had weed legalized, sure, maybe weed usage goes up a little bit, but then it drops back to pretty much base level, and then other drugs lower. So there's, your crazy drugs are then actually being used less when things like weed are legal.
Yeah. I agree with you on that. I do agree with you on that. I think, obviously, the crazier drugs are very hard to monitor, but I think in terms of healing, like I've watched videos of people with Parkinson's who just put like a little drop of THC oil and it's good. And like from incredible shaking to completely still, can actually pick up a glass and drink their water for a change. So I do think there's this whole idea of make the people sick, they'll keep paying, and that's exactly what's happening. No one really wants to look at their diet. I mean, people will take Ozempic to lose weight. And I'm like, you do know that's for people with diabetes. Like, you don't know how that's going to affect you. Just like puberty blockers are made for kids who suffer from overdevelopment too young. They have to take that. We don't know what it's going to do to people who don't have those underdevelopment. And it's actually a thesis I wrote in like a research methodology was, obviously I had to look at both sides. You have to look at both sides and the benefits are there. But a lot of doctors say, we don't know what the future effect is. We don't know. But that's not an alarming thing for people, that's not alarming. That's just, the risk is the risk until it happens. And then they're probably going to try and sue and then be like, you did this to me. No, you did. You did. So, I think people could be definitely healthier, but they just don't know.
But even the less obvious things have equal to maybe even sometimes worse effects.
Yeah.
Like people will say, okay, well, I just have a lot of sugar. It's not as bad as maybe taking the pill.
Okay, but now that's like you comparing one evil to the lesser or whatever.
No, that's what I'm saying is the sugar might actually be more evil.
Yes.
Because it affects you,
yeah.
For such a long period of time. It affects your mental health. It affects your hormones. It affects all of these things.
Yeah.
And people will deem sugar as less serious.
Yes.
But
because it's everywhere.
Because it's everywhere and it's more accessible and it's legal.
Yeah.
Well, doesn't need a prescription or whatever. So now people think, no, it can't be that bad. Whereas it's doing the same negative things to your body. Maybe, I know for a fact, the more sugar I've eaten, let's say in a weekend, absolutely, I am more negative.
Yes.
Without a doubt. I'm
puffier.
I'm more negative, I'm more lazy, I'm everything. There is no doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
And sugar is amazing. I know sugar is the one thing that is the most difficult thing for me to get control over.
Yeah.
I can get control over sexual desire. I can get control over
That's another
wealth.
thing, going back to relationships, for men to control their sexual urges. And I say men because I feel like that's a primal urge for them is to reproduce.
Men are more testosterone, and that's what testosterone is.
So for me, if any woman can have you, I don't want you. I'm obviously just coming from my opinion. So I think if a man can control his sexual desires, he's already a better man than half the population. So well done.
I wouldn't say I'm perfect.
No, none of us are.
I can control them in the sense that I won't physically do something anymore.
Man. Yes.
But I can't. Sometimes I'll have a thought and be like, hey, maybe
as
not.
long as you're not acting on the thought. Like, I'm pretty sure there's some people who have thought about robbing an engine.
Yeah.
And they were like, not today.
I sometimes see a nice car and be like, I wouldn't mind just hopping in there and taking the car, but I wouldn't do it.
It's fast enough so no one would catch me. Thought about it.
Yeah.
No,
Isn't that sad though? And that's maybe the biggest reason I try to get control of every desire. And as I mentioned, the sugar one being the most difficult one, because I don't want to be controlled by anything that isn't me. I don't see my sexual desire as me.
Yeah.
You know, it's
a part
this
of
hormonal response.
It's primal.
It's primal. And I don't actually have control over that to a degree, but I can almost master it to use it to my benefit.
To the point where it's not destructive.
It's not destructive.
That's important.
And harness it. Never allow it to me sit on Instagram and looking at girls instead of working. Or, you know, walking in the shop and thinking about business, and then a girl comes and then she derails my thought process. I'm not saying it's her fault.
No, I hear you.
But, you know, all of these things, is this conducive or productive or helping me get to the person I want to be?
Yeah.
If it's not, disregard it.
Yeah.
You know, and yes, it's negative.
But some people will just sit in it. Some people are just happy to sit in that because it is what it is.
Get like a tiny little dopamine fix by looking at these photos or whatever.
I think it's just talking to them. It's just like this validation. I think for men it's hard.
I definitely think for myself that validation was in my worst situations.
Why would you need that validation? Like, so for me, I struggle to understand because, for example, I'm not the kind of girl to be distracted by a guy. I mean, I will happily like compliment them if I absolutely feel the need to. But truth be told, like I refuse because then I feel like my time is going to be taken. So I'd rather avoid it because I'm valuing my time.
Looking at myself. So in my worst, never like terrible, but I'm a guy and I grew up mainly as social media progressed and it's easier to talk to this girl and that girl and hide and this and that. And, you know, I grew up with that. So I was exposed to it through my, you know, maturity throughout school and, you know, older than that. And it was the validation of, okay, I can get this girl to be interested in me. But the more I started to love myself, the less I needed that validation. So I can look back and be like, okay, if I was talking to this girl with, you know, just intention of making myself feel good, a little bit of an ego stroke,
a little bit of a distraction,
I'm bored, you know, it'd be fun to chat to her. At that point in my life, I wasn't really happy with who I was.
How did you get to the point where you were happy with yourself? What was the main thing? Was it finding a purpose? Was it?
No, so I've always kind of had a purpose. I think the biggest thing for myself was just the acceptance of, okay, well, I'm human. I am the exceptionally flawed, bad person that I've been telling myself I am, but that's okay. It's okay to have issues. It's okay. Like I was in this constant pursuit of being perfect. And in this pursuit of trying to be perfect.
I think actually that's where I was as well.
You make more mistakes and you're more aware of your mistakes.
You don't forgive yourself,
Yes, and you don't and just relinquishing that, you know, need to be this perfect specimen then actually helps you progress to be a bit more perfect than the constant person that I need to be perfect, so don't make this mistake.
Because the expectation isn't perfection. The expectation is like whatever it is, kind of thing.
And be aware, obviously, of those mistakes.
No, of course,
and don't allow yourself to indulge yourself in those mistakes. But if you did have a thought that could lead to a mistake, catch yourself and be like, okay, well, you are human to have that thought. That's fine. You're not a bad person for having that thought. You're a bad person if you act on it. You're a bad person if you stew in those thoughts, just get away from it and go more towards, being the person that you want to be almost.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think that's the biggest thing. And it's kind of going back to mistakes and how I mentioned, like, if you feel a little bit guilty for something you've done in the past, it's a good thing. I think it's one thing that I didn't get right was giving myself the grace, was forgiving myself. Because, as I said, I blame myself for everything. And I refuse to go, you know what, that person took advantage of me. But then my brain goes, yeah, but you let them because of your boundaries. Okay, so that's where it gets really hard because my brain's always got a rebuttal. Always wants to argue. So, so it's really like giving yourself that patience to actually sit with it and say, this is really normal. You haven't killed anyone. You haven't like done extremely bad things. Like the worst you've probably ever done is tune someone, right? Oh, wait, never mind. I had a girl hit me once and I hit her back.
That's okay. If she hit you first.
She hit me first.
That's okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Was
so
it like a nice cat fight, or was it like just a one punch, it was done? Or was it like pulling hair and scratching?
No, she tried to go catty and I...
Was it out? Were you like at a
clubby state?
Oh, so it was like daylight. Was it nighttime?
No, it was nighttime.
Okay.
It was nighttime, yeah. And she had braces and she hit me.
Or were you in school?
Yeah.
Or did she have... Okay.
And then I hit her back, but she had braces on, so I won, obviously.
So let's say now you're in that same situation as a more mature person, someone that's done a lot more self-discovery. You have this girl that is now wanting to hit
throwing
you.
hands.
Yeah.
I think now it's a bit different because
you've got more skills.
That's the thing is I've got skills and I know what my body can do, especially to a woman, I mean, I've had moments where I've sized up a guy before, like,
I know if we had to go and try a role now, you would dominate me completely because I've had zero experience, irrespective of being stronger. Yeah, being
so
male.
that's the cool part. Like if you're really heavy, the weight and the strength do play a role, but it's still like you can still maneuver it. But like
if you put my arm somewhere behind my back, like it doesn't matter how strong I am. Like I'm not strong enough to.
It's also body awareness.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Kind of knowing where you can move. So I think now I don't think I'd fight because I would I think I'd I'm actually in a stage in my life where I don't like conflict. I actually just walk away. I couldn't be bothered. I don't want to fight. I know what I'm capable of verbally, physically. I know what I'm capable of, and it's not worth it. I've really worked hard on trying to work on a viper tongue that I inherited from my dad. Nice to know that it's there, but it's never needed now. If anything, psychology has helped me the most in terms of conflict. What did you mean by that? And when you said this, it sounded like this, and I don't think that this is actually worth it. So usually when you approach someone in a calm manner who's upset, it either riles them up or it makes them feel a bit stupid. And
as you mentioned, you understand both sides. So she comes at you with whatever, you can think and be like, okay, well, maybe she had this and this and this and this.
Yeah.
Maybe she had a bad upbringing. Maybe she had a stressful day, X, Y, and Z. Maybe that's why she's reacting like that. Maybe actually it has 2% to do with me. So maybe I don't need to try and counter whatever she's doing. Just, try, put it out, walk away or whatever.
It's usually like, usually when two of you are reacting, it's a big thing. But if the one person's not really reactive and the other person's like really upset, you kind of got to ask like, why did this trigger you so much? What is it that's bothering you? And it's usually something a lot deeper. I would say most people bottle their things, and then something small like you ask someone for a hairdryer and they don't give it to you. You just cry. And they're like, it's a hairdryer, relax. But you haven't mentioned the fact that you've held everything else and now you just look like a naff because you're crying about a blow dry, So, I think it's actually, I kind of gave myself grace the other day where I reflected, I'm not the same person. Definitely not the same person. If I had to approach Sascha, we'd have a serious, like Sascha back then, we'd have a serious sit down. At one stage, there was a bit of shame, but not anymore. Like, it still pops in, but not anymore. Because I know I'm not that person. I have a really good friend, Jundi, who always like tells me like, that doesn't exist anymore. She doesn't exist anymore. Who you are now exists.
But you only exist now because of her.
100%. Well, there's always past selves, and you've got to give love to them. So I did what's called theta. shout out to Astara Healing, Tegan Webster. So Tegan does theta, which is the brain state you go in kind of when you're asleep. It's also the brain state that's malleable to your subconscious. And she reads your body, the energetic levels, and things that are going wrong. I mean, the one time she told me my iron was low, and I didn't believe her, and I passed out the next day. I passed out in the middle of Tiger's Milk. It was terrible. Anyways, so went and saw her, did theta. One of the things that came through was this shame. It was like 2 years ago, was the shame around my past, and I just couldn't forgive myself. And so she went through it, and we did this whole ceremony, and then she told me, you're basically now going to let your past self sleep. And I only recognized literally on Sunday that this has been done now, that they are sleeping. So she picked 3 ages. So for me, I had significant issues, well, not issues, but parts that deeply affected me were specific ages. So the age of 8, the age of 16, and the age of 20. And I had to take 8-year-old Sascha, I had to take 16-year-old Sascha, and I had to take 20-year-old Sascha. You'd have to say, I forgive you, please forgive me.
You had distinct memories of each of these situations. So you could think, and you knew exactly what happened.
I knew exactly what happened when I was 8 and 16. 20, I didn't know. 20, I don't know what happened, but I knew exactly what was going on when I was 8 and I was 16. And yeah, so she would essentially say, I forgive you, you forgive me. And essentially it's like, I forgive you for what you endured that has affected me now. And I forgive you because I've blamed you and I've judged you, but you did the best you could with the knowledge you had. And so you go through each one until you can feel it's rested. And then you kind of create like a coffin. But for me, seeing a little 8-year-old Sascha climbing into a coffin wasn't really cool. So I created like little eggs in my mind, like clear balls of eggs, and it was just pillows and blankets, and essentially it's these 3 eggs went into water. I don't know if you've ever watched The Witcher. Mm-hmm. Do you know that scene where the eels are being thrown off? You know how it's glittery and glowy? Yeah. That's exactly the water that we went into. And she said to me, she was like, that was quite beautiful. And I said, what do you mean? She was like, it looked like the eggs were going back to the womb kind of scenario. And I didn't even register that. So that was really cool to see. And just the other day, I actually took a moment. I was with a friend, and I realized I'm not that person. I don't think like that anymore. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to live. I think there's this, women are supposed to be a lot harder, and I've done that. I've been quite in my masculine for a while, and I'm tired. I want to be soft and feminine.
Do you think that's also now with going into singing has also been that transition?
It's definitely, I would say, and it's not saying like men can't be creative. I do think women lean more into creativity.
But it's more feminine than jiu-jitsu almost. Like not saying you're going to stop jiu-jitsu.
No, 100%. Love jiu-jitsu. I will always love jiu-jitsu. But I can see how it made me quite masculine. And it wasn't just that attributed to that. It was just your view on life. And I wonder if the pill had to do with it, because I came off the pill like 3 years ago after being on it for 7. And I've changed completely. My perspectives are different. So I also would also say women feel the need to get validation from men. After coming off the pill, I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I don't feel like desires or urges or, I genuinely just want to sit and have a conversation. Because most of the time for me, I'm not like a 12 out of 10, but I'm attractive. And usually they kind of in the right light. And a lot of them you can feel that the intention's impure. And I don't like that, I also have been in conversations where I've felt a bit stupid. Well, they've made me feel stupid. And I'm like...
Deliberately, not because they're smart.
Deliberately. They're like, oh, well, I can teach you this. And I'm like, I know that. And maybe it's not what a guy wants to hear, but if I'm honest, like, I'm not going to go and... oh, woe is me, if I genuinely don't know something cool kind of thing. But for the most part, it's impure conversations that, they're not actually interested in me. They're interested in what I can give them or what they can get from me. And I know that I'm a lot more interesting than just my looks. I'm happy to have a conversation. I would say I've got a sense of humor. And so it upsets you. Most girls think that attention's amazing. Like, look what I can do. I know I can command that attention, and I know I deserve the attention I command. But I don't need to entertain it. That's one thing that I really, truly had to learn was, I mean, in school I was quite insecure because, I mean, I was in a back brace for 3 years. Like, probably remember all of that. And so it was really hard. My perspective of self was like, not good. So I would like, you know, talk to guys and me not realizing that I was attractive. You think this is just cool, right? You think like, oh, this person really likes me. No, they don't. So I'm really blessed, like in the past 3 years, how much I've changed. And yeah, I think it's definitely affected the way I interact with males and females, which is good, which is really good. Because, I struggled with that.
I think it's an interesting dynamic, the interaction with the opposite sex. And especially...
What's it like for you? Like interacting with a girl, like what's it like?
In what situation?
You know, so you're just out and about with some mates, and it's not like you're at a pub and it's chaotic. Like, you know, everyone's just around. There's drinks flowing, but it's not chaotic. And they approach you, or you'd probably approach them.
Yeah, you see, I think if a girl had to approach me,
speechless,
I'd be a little bit put off.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Why
but
is
it's
that?
wrong.
No.
It is wrong.
No. I understand. I do believe in the chase.
Like for me, it's actually, maybe it's an egotistical thing. It's I want to be able to get a girl that I actually have to work for.
I want to pursue you.
Yeah.
Women want to be pursued.
Yeah. I don't like if a girl is obvious, but you do get really confident girls that can be amazing girls that would approach me. But for me, it's just, I don't know. I want someone that is maybe a bit apprehensive at first. You know, I mean, that chase is exciting.
Yeah.
You know, not the chase just for sexual pleasure.
Yeah.
Like if you
the actual
let's say,
chase.
yes, like you're actually trying to be serious with this person. Like that chase, that courtship, that whole situation is really fun and it's addictive. You know, as humans, that is addictive. So, okay, let's say I need to go up to a girl. So let's say it's in that situation.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't.
Why?
Because obviously, so I will go up to a girl in one situation.
Yeah.
If I have this feeling that my life will be changed through meeting this girl.
Okay.
So if I see a girl that I'm like, okay, she's pretty. But if I don't have this deep desire, not sexual desire, but this desire
to get to know
like
them.
if I look at my ex, it's only ever happened once in my life. I saw her at gym.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have to get to know this girl.
See, that's beautiful. I think that's beautiful.
Like for me, that's what it needs to be like.
Instead of most guys are like, I have to get to know every single woman.
Yeah. It's like, and that's equally part of the chase and
Absolutely.
all of that.
It's
but
something
for
you
me,
learn.
like that is just going to detract a certain amount of energy that I want to use to utilize to progress me forward. And that's not going to progress me forward. You know, maybe it'll be a little bit fun flirting with this girl for half an hour, but she's not the girl that I want to actually be with or see
It's really just about that validation. It's literally like, okay, well, like this chick's talking to me, so I must be good kind of thing.
And it's kind of like, okay, cool. I could see she's interested. I'm going to bounce.
I'm dipping now.
Yeah.
Bye.
So for me, it's like and it's also at the gym, it's really tough. And
because girls don't want to be approached.
Yeah,
as well.
and also I don't want to seem like I'm that random creepy guy that
don't
would
do
approach
it.
a girl. So
Don't do it.
I would never approach any girl unless it was that genuine, she's going to change my life feeling.
Get you.
So that's how I see, relationships going forward now, since I've tried to heal from that need for validation.
See, I think it's better because I think that's also like that need for validation. The things you can do are vicious. It'll just tear you down, and it can.
And I mean, now like these people in my life, certain people will be like, no, you need to go on dates. You need to meet these girls. You need to like go out and explore possibilities or whatever. And I'm just thinking, why must let's say I obviously looks at first sight are a thing, right? So if I look at a girl, let's say my ex, when I looked at her, it wasn't this deep-seated sexual desire.
Get you.
It was just this different feeling of like almost energy where it was
Yeah.
like, I need to meet this person. And you get that by looking at someone. So if they say go on a date with this girl, or I see a girl on Instagram, or maybe message me or whatever, I'm like, maybe I should go out. If I don't have that feeling, I won't do it. So if people give me advice saying like, no, go on dates, experience this, do this, I'm just like, but I know that I'm not feeling that way towards that person, but then also there could be the right person for me that I can really get along with and have an amazing life with. That would be, because I believe for a relationship to work, you need to be best friends first.
Yes.
Not like, we were friends in school.
Yeah, no, I get you. But like you guys you hang out and chirp each other.
You need to be friends. Like if I look at my parents, they've got an amazing relationship as relationships go.
Yeah.
As a working marriage goes, because if we look at marriages in today, they're terrible. I mean, how many of them are successful? So if I look at my parents, they are genuinely best friends. They still laugh together. Like those things are like key,
paramount. Yeah,
they have to be in a relationship where it's you're friends and you're lovers and you together and you union and all of that. But friendship is key. If that friendship is lost, the relationship isn't going to work.
Yeah.
So
I can agree with you.
For me, like I need that. So and that could happen with a girl. Maybe initially I might be apprehensive about. I don't know.
I think also because you say that like it's obvious, right? And it should be. But I think a lot of people think like being friends is different from being in a relationship. Like you can't be friends in a relationship. But the reality is you are.
I think you should be best friends.
No,
like
100%. But I think people behave lovey-dovey in a relationship instead of just being themselves, being as you were as friends, and then there's this pressure to how do I explain it? Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like there's this pressure to keep it loving and keep it a love related.
And forcefully trying to let's go out on a romantic dinner. Whereas let's just go out for dinner and we're best friends. So it's going to be a great time. We can still be romantic. Sure, of course, all of that. But it's not, okay, let's try ignite the romance. Yeah. It's almost, we are best friends. Obviously, there needs to be the desire and all of that.
I believe that's important.
But the romance comes alive through that. Yeah. And you can be in romantic situations because of the friendship, as opposed to, we're really hitting a dip in how we're getting along. Let's maybe plan this super romantic dinner, and then you also just put pressure on that evening or whatever.
I agree with you. And it's sad though. I don't really like the way relationships are going at the moment. There are some gems, don't get me wrong. I know people who are in great relationships. And
my biggest thing that I've witnessed in relationships, it's just, comfort, where it's, we're not on fire for each other. We get along, but it's kind of just comfortable. If we had to end, I'm going to have to get to know a new person. Yeah. And that fear of having to get to know a new person offsets the breaking up in the original relationship, because they're too scared of that. So they would rather live a life of mediocre happiness. Yeah. Because they're too scared to have to get to know another person or go through the dating process, or being scared to be an older single person. And then you live your life in that situation of
comfort,
not being too happy.
Yeah,
but
just
it's comfort.
Safe.
I know,
it's safe.
Yeah, there's safety in the mediocre unhappiness, as opposed to the fear of the unknown. Yeah,
it's settling. It's not really taking a risk, I mean, like in my case, I've had the fire, but it's also, I've also had having the fire where it's also not enough, where it's not enough. And that, I think that's also one of the saddest things, is like, because you can love someone and they can love you, but something's just not allowing you guys to work. And I think that's sad, because I do believe it's something to be worked on. If it's something you guys can't really figure out, do it together, because that's how it's supposed to be.
I think that's also the biggest thing, is that communication and being mature enough to maybe have that conversation with the other person. Be like, I do love you, but like I just feel like maybe that spark, like we need to have this conversation and be open about dwindling feelings or something like that. And I think that's the biggest thing I've learned in previous relationships, is the lack of communication.
Yeah, I've had that. I have had that, and that is the worst. The worst. It makes you
I
angry.
apologize to every person out there that has been in a relationship with someone that is terrible at communicating their feelings and their fears, irrespective of maybe how they feel towards you, but maybe just the frustrations in their day.
I feel very sorry for the people out there who have been with a partner where they've tried to voice their feelings and then they shut down.
Yeah, that too.
Like, why? You're supposed to love me. What were you saying before this? Oh, the fire. So I also believe like you can love someone and it can be on fire, but if your demons don't play well together, it's not going to work. It's actually just gonna end up in big flames.
If the demons don't play well together, I would think that it's maybe just
issues you got to work on.
Not accepting yours or you not accepting theirs.
Probably, yeah. Probably. That's a good way to look at it. I've never actually looked at it. I've always just thought of two issues dancing together, to be fair. So I've never actually thought of it like that.
But that's also the people pleaser in me that's like, you aren't accepting, you maybe not getting along with this person because you aren't accepting their
yourself,
flaws.
the projection, right?
And myself, yeah.
Them and yourself. Yeah, I definitely think I think projection plays the biggest role. I think sometimes when you have an issue with someone, it might be reflecting of yourself, like.
Most of the time.
Most of the time. But if it is, and that's also really hard, is this a genuine issue or am I projecting? How do I know?
Or am I thinking I'm projecting and it actually is just a generation?
It actually is happening.
Yeah.
Like, how do you know? I think that's the problem with thinking is you never know. I always trust my intuition, to be fair. If something makes me uncomfortable, I shouldn't be feeling uncomfortable. In a relationship, you're not supposed to feel uncomfortable.
No, that I completely agree with.
That's real. I shouldn't be feeling some sort of something.
Yeah.
A negative feeling, whatever it is.
What if it's like overthinking the relationship in the sense that like you
fear they're going to leave, fear of abandonment, like this isn't really yours.
That or like any feeling of, seeing something in them that you don't like and your initial gut feeling might be run away.
Yeah.
But maybe also with more introspection, you could also just be like, I'm not.
I think it depends what it is.
It depends what it is.
Because I've been in situations where I'm like, no, like that's a big red flag for me. Big red flag for me.
What's the biggest red flag for you?
I think it's for me it's a man who's unable to have to control his sexual desires, and if he's following a lot of women. So this is the thing: is you can have interests. That's fine. I don't mind that. But if
your interests don't need to be half naked women.
Exactly. They don't need to be 50,000 women, and that's the thing is it can be anyone. It could be someone from Joburg. They don't need to be someone like famous. It can be anyone.
But
then it's hard.
It's egotistical from my perspective is I won't follow someone. Like I've obviously gone through stages where I might follow an influencer that's obviously in a different country. But my main thing is I don't want to follow someone where there's no possibility of me being able to get them type of thing. So not that I actually want to have them, but it's like, how am I ever going to meet that girl? So why do I want to follow her and desire her?
So you're right. I'm going to go further and say, I don't mind if you're following someone overseas. You're never going to get them. You're never going to get them.
But is it not then playing in your mind if they had the opportunity to, they would, even if they're with you?
Trust me, as a woman, you think of all these things. As a woman,
as a human, I think.
Yeah, you're probably right. I'm obviously just being very biased because I have
footsie
no, it's chilled. I've got short legs. I think obviously I'm biased because I am female and I'm just coming from my perspective. But I think I don't see a problem with people who are like if they're international and the likelihood of meeting them is low. The likelihood of you DMing them and them replying is low. I don't mind that. Personally, I don't follow that kind of stuff. I prefer my interests. Like if it's household farming, I follow cleaning rugs kind of thing. Then there's the Elon. I don't actually follow Elon. Like Joe Rogan and Cat Williams. And so I really focus on that because I don't like why? The question is, why are you looking at this stuff? For me, one of the biggest red flags is when you're following a lot of women and a lot of attractive women in Joburg and Cape Town and why? Why do you need that many? And now I'm with you and you still need that. that's a problem. If you approach it and it's denied, that's also a problem, I think. Because it will make you feel like, well, why does this person want to follow these people? Well, I'm here now, but they still want to keep these people around. Are you doing it because you think this is we're going to be over and you want to keep the doors open? And that's, I'll be honest, most girls will think like that. Most girls do.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I completely think like that. And, you know, like I have unfortunately in my years of living not had good examples with men. I'm still positive about them, which is, I'm lucky to say, but there's definitely trust issues.
Well, I think as a male, if you follow anyone that is posting, like, you know, we talk about these women who might be posting certain photos, and that's the main reason why maybe the guy follows them. It's not an interest of theirs or whatever. It's
so for me, it's also if it's a past fling that you had, I don't want you unfollow.
How about, because I don't think it's possible, but like, you actually put it in your story the other day where it was men can be truly just interested in being friends with a girl. Yeah,
I haven't. My best friend is like that. No interest. We started off as training partners, and obviously I have my skepticisms because
he's a male, so it's
I've
fair.
had, you know,
it's fair
I don't know you,
and
obviously I had my skepticisms, but he's just been really consistent, and you know, we choke
never given you any reason not to.
No reason. If anything, he's given me every reason to trust him. And I do trust him. Like if I'm having a bad time and I message him, he'll be like, cool, I'll be there. To the point where he even turned to his friend. It's like, if you're going through this, I mean, the one time, this might be TMI, but I took a mushroom, but I took more than I should have. And because I didn't know the strain or the species or the whatever. And I phoned him and I was like, I'm not okay. But well, basically I said, this is what happened. He was like, okay, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Then I messaged him and I was like, I'm not okay. And he was like, he actually got upset with me because he was like, I would have been there. You should have just told me. And he even turned to his friend and his friend was like, oh, but can't you stay? And he was like, you know, if this were you would want me to come help you.
Fair.
And I've never felt like it's sexual. I've never felt like he's ever wanted anything else from me other than my friendship. If anything, you know, 22 was a hard year for the both of us, and we actually did it together. And that's where our friendship really grew. Because even now, like, I'll go to him, talk to him about my issues. If a guy is interested in you, he'll talk with your issues, and he'll be like, oh, I understand. And the energy is different. They don't. What I've noticed if they're just interested in you sexually, they're not going to give you anything constructive. Whereas for me, he gives me something constructive. During the week, I'll get sent a quote from like Stoicism or something.
Yeah, and I think as men, controlling urges, we have the less of ability to control urges. So I think as a guy would probably give things away.
Yeah.
Because obviously I've never been in a situation where I've had someone trying to be my friend for, okay, well, maybe once. But like it's more going to happen in a girl's perspective.
Yeah.
You know, for you it's going to happen more than a girl's going to try to pretend to be friends with me. But I just always assume the way I would think. Like, I know I don't have, like, obviously I'm friends with, like, friends of mine's girlfriends and wives and that kind of stuff.
But you can't be friends with girls.
But I can't be friends with girls.
Interesting, because I know a guy who's pretty much, like, has girls around him all the time. And it's a bit of a put-off.
Yeah, I can't.
I don't, as a girl, it doesn't sit well, you know? Like, it's just...
And it's tough because I've never found even a girl that, okay, maybe that's also where the attraction would come in. So with guy friends, my guy friends are guys that think like me, that are determined,
so it becomes a competition.
Goal-driven. No.
Oh, okay.
So it's like the people out, like the men I would surround myself with are people that I would want to, you know, go to war with. I would want to.
That's good.
You know, every time I leave their presence, I feel more confident, more happy, instead of like feeling drained.
Yeah.
I've never been with a woman that has made me feel like that. That obviously I have in a relationship with a woman, but I've never been friends with a girl. But maybe that's where I think if a girl is like that, you could then find them more attractive because of those traits. So I've maybe just never given it a chance.
I do think it's harder for men to be friends with girls. And so I also understand why a girl having a guy best friend would be really hard for a guy to accept, because guys know how guys are.
But not all men are the same. So,
exactly. Yeah. But guys know how guys are. And I think if you're questioning a guy and you're like, what is he going to do? Okay. Yeah, are you also friends with a girl that you'd like to smash? Are you friends with a woman that you want to smash? Is that why you're worried about my best friend? Because I can tell you right now, I'm not interested. I'm here with you right now. But now you've got me wondering about your behavior.
And then also, what is it about you that you're insecure about that you then threatened by this guy in our relationship?
Exactly. You know, so it's interesting. It's a lot. Actually, there's so many like factors you can talk about this stuff.
Yeah, there's a million different scenarios.
And there's always that understanding of, I get that. Like, I understand how having a guy best friend would be an issue. And, you know, I can understand why having a girl best friend would be an issue because I mean, for example, he is dating someone and I am the girl best friend. And when you don't understand, when you're not, I also think it's important, if it is a genuine friend of yours, that your partner sees how you interact with each other. That you know, the three of you can go and hang out.
You're the same person with him when she's around and when she's not.
Absolutely.
Around. Yeah.
That's how it should be, right? So I think that's important, is, you know, if you really have a genuine guy friend or a genuine girlfriend, of course your partner's going to be upset about it. Interact with them. If your girlfriend, after like the third interaction, she's still not happy because she can pick up a vibe. This is another thing, is girls pick up on that energy, right? Girls are very interesting, because it's funny, they'll say they're a girl's girl, but then like, also another thing is when a man likes other girls' pictures and the girls, and they're like, oh, so-and-so's man liked my picture. It's embarrassing for us. It's embarrassing. Anyways.
But behind closed doors.
Girls are horrible.
Yeah, no,
girls are horrible.
I understand that.
Oh no, not behind closed doors. It's still embarrassing.
I mean a little bit of, okay, at least I feel good about myself, at least a little bit. But also it's embarrassing, like in the sense that, okay, I know at least that he maybe finds me attractive. I'm not going to do anything about it, but knowing that he finds me attractive is a little bit cool.
What for the girls who are saying, oh, look, so-and-so's boyfriend liked my picture?
Oh, no. But I mean, like, let's say this girl, her boyfriend likes your photo. And then other people are like, look, he's liking Sasha's photos. Like for you, it's like, okay, well, it's a little bit of validation. That's quite cool. But also, you don't need validation that much that you want to cause conflict in the relationship. No, but it's
also, but my thing is also, what are you doing? Look, it's probably because I'm judgmental, but I can look at a guy and be like, yep, you're that type. You're that type. I expected it.
You go through Instagram and you see liked by whatever.
Yeah, you see their names everywhere. You see their names everywhere. And I watch, I know exactly who they are. I'm terrible. Like, I don't use my phone often, but when I use my phone, I'm operating.
I see sometimes I'll be going through Instagram and I don't follow many girls. So I'll go on, like, let's go, say I go on Explorer and I'll have a moment of weakness and I'll go into a photo of a pretty girl on Explorer. And then I just see liked by this friend. And then whenever, like, obviously, like, let's say, like, if I followed a girl that maybe posts this type of revealing stuff, it would be someone that I know.
Yes.
From, let's say, like, competing days, because those are maybe more the girls. Yeah. But I will see liked by this person, liked by this person. I'm like, you got a girlfriend. I can see this. If I'm seeing this as a man, you best be sure she knows as a woman. She knows.
She's just waiting to leave. So that's the thing.
If a man knows, don't be naive enough to think that a girl doesn't know. If a man finds something out, the girl probably knew like 3 months ago.
100%. 100%. It's not hard either. It's very weird though. Like, the intuition just sparks up. A name will be mentioned and you'll go, I haven't had an issue with any other names other than that one. I'm going to go look into that.
And the truth always comes out.
And it makes me bitter sometimes. Yeah. Because it makes you want to scream at that person and be like, I told you. You were the one to worry about, not me. You know? And I can't. At least what I like is, like, at least you can sit there. At least I know, like, there's a man out there who can sit there and be like, that is wrong. I mean, my close friend's boyfriend, I'm close with her and I'm close with him. He never likes my stuff. I'm not upset about it. I actually respect it more than anything. In fact, I'd like
But
that.
like if it's a photo of you graduating and he liked the photo, surely that's okay.
Oh, no issues.
Yeah.
Because she also knows our relationship. She knows the intention there. If anything, I call them mom and dad. You know, like they are older than me. So I do call them mom and dad sometimes. Like, it's all about intention. But the thing is, people lie.
But also you can pick up on those intentions when they are
impure.
Yeah.
You can actually feel like bad intentions. And not even bad intentions, just snaky lying vibes.
Yeah.
You know?
Or
Or like a bluff of the truth. You know, they're not really giving the whole truth. It's just a little bit. So you can't really argue them.
Because also, like, let's say you post a photo on Instagram, you can tell someone, the postee, the person posting the photo has intentions with a particular post.
Yes.
Let's say it is you looking really nice at a wedding and maybe there's a bit of cleavage in the outfit. Like, there's intention of, like, I got really dressed up for this. I know I look nice. I'm posting a photo of it. If a guy that's maybe friends with you or whatever likes it, you can see the intention of the post that was made, and then if there's a like coming through, there might be intention because when you posted that graduation photo, there was no like. When you posted the photo of your dog, there was no like.
Happens a lot. Look at, for example, girls and guys' stories. You'll get girls in their bikinis, and you'll literally just see all of that, and it's like, what is it? What is it? Because it's aesthetic? No, because you want people to comment. A lot of what's done is done with intention, and it's usually not good intention.
I often catch myself with those thoughts. If like I'll be finishing a gym, and then I'll like maybe post a photo with my shirt off, and then I was like, Jesse, why did you have to post that photo? Like,
I stopped doing that years ago.
Can't you go self-assured enough and to not seek a little bit of validation from posting a photo without a shirt on? Like, what's your intention there?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because, like, obviously, younger, I was still training and all of that. And I think when you're younger, you don't have a good image of yourself. And so you find, like, the best outlet. And obviously, I would flex in the mirror and whatever. I don't do that anymore. I don't want to. Like, why? It's literally that question. Why am I posting that? Yeah, but you see it today. I think one thing that I stopped doing that because the intention was just so shit. You know, you bring people in and people bring their energy and you don't want to be wrapped in that. And I slowly actually didn't like the attention I was receiving. I know I deserve the attention I command. I don't really command it, it just happens. But I didn't like it, you know. So for me, like the most part, I don't post bikini pictures, you know. Maybe in the past I did, but now I don't, and that's actually also really cool. Thank you for that. And I've just seen some growth as well. Yeah, so I think it also just comes definitely down to intention. If I know the girl and her boyfriend likes my photo, and I understand the intention there and the relationship there, it's cool. But if it's someone else, and then I'm like, your girlfriend won't be happy about you liking that picture. Not necessarily my stuff, but I've seen like guys in relationships and I'm like, if I were your girlfriend, we'd be done so quickly, you know? I don't know why. I think social media is such a big issue when it comes to relationships and the things that, you know, that people are being fed. Like, we can go and talk about Andrew Tate and his view on relationships, and everybody hates Andrew Tate. And I'm like, I don't think he's so bad. You know, he's got some views that I actually genuinely agree with. However, his delivery is poor. And even his brother says it. Like, his delivery is so bad.
I think his delivery is good because it's doing exactly what he wants it to do.
He's upsetting people.
So what he's saying might not be good. Like
how he says it is not
how
good.
he says it is maybe the most bashful way possible.
Yeah.
And that's by design.
Yes.
So it would maybe be received more by more people, and maybe a more female-orientated market if he said it better. But it's not going to be because of how he says it. But what he's saying,
it's more for men.
If you go into it and dissect what he's saying, applies, and women would agree with it. But because of how he says it, they don't.
No, I do agree with him. I do agree with. Listen, I don't always agree. I agree with a lot of it, not all of it. Same with Jordan Peterson. I'll agree with him on some things and not everything. But I do like what he's trying to push for. He is a bit brash in some senses, but I like what he's talking about. You know, he says, for example, we obviously know that he's got a lot of money, and now the outcome is not the money, but the thought, he says that my wife doesn't have to work, and everyone had to go at him and said, yeah, but what if she wants to? Yeah, she can. She doesn't have to, though, is what I'm saying. What he's saying is she's safe to do whatever she wants.
No, he's not saying she can't work, but he's saying she doesn't have to.
He's actually saying she can do whatever she wants, obviously within, like, be loyal and love me and whatever. But yeah, so he obviously, I don't think he'd attract a woman like that. I think he would attract someone the better, or someone not at all at this point. But I do like his perspectives on things. I think we've lost a lot of traditional views.
Yeah, I definitely think he's doing a lot more good than harm.
Yeah.
You know,
people will disagree with that. I'm so sorry.
People might disagree with it, but let's say, okay, let's look at the misogyny. Yes, maybe he might entice certain men, boys, whatever, to maybe be a little bit more misogynistic. But I
think that's a character thing.
It's a character thing,
that's
but
them.
Those boys are the weaker boys.
Yes.
So they, like, if you can become more of a misogynist because of how Andrew Tate may in one particular video a few years ago have said something about a woman, you would equally so be swayed by the government talking about a vaccine. So it's just perspective and your ability to discern, okay, like, he's just being a bit exaggerative.
Yes.
It's a bit of a hyperbole what he's saying here, but the premise of most of his stuff is 100% right.
Yeah. Yeah, he delivers it, and he knows exactly what he's saying. And in order to get to the point, it's very direct. It's very straight to the point. I think a lot of people just take it. A lot of people just take things personally because they can see themselves in a situation, and they're like, "Well, that's not it. Why are you being defensive? Just, it's fine."
He even said once in an interview, he was saying, you know, I can say a female might be less strong than a man.
Yeah.
Or I can say women are far weaker than men, so a man physically can dominate a woman.
Yes.
Which one is going to get more clicks? Which one's going to get more shares? Like,
the one that makes you angry.
He's saying the same thing, and he's admitted to it, and people still fall for it and be like, look what this guy's saying, and share it and share it and share it. Whereas we're like, if I'm sharing his stuff, I will share it to my friends. I'll be like,
because they understand.
Yeah, I'll be like, this is pretty dope.
Yeah, so it's funny you say that, because I've watched the interview after they were arrested in Romania with Piers Morgan. Andrew Tate was first, and then Tristan Tate was second, and Piers was just so upset with Andrew. And he's speaking to Tristan about it, and Tristan turns to him and says, you know, Piers, you're a very intelligent man, but my brother says things deliberately to irritate you. He's not being serious, you know? So he is, but he isn't. The delivery is not serious. He actually genuinely appreciates and respects women, right? I feel like, I was going to say, like, never mind. Anyways, so I do think he genuinely appreciates and respects women. And obviously the way he delivers isn't very brash, and it's very blunt, and it's very not what a woman wants to hear. But I don't think his audience is for women. Mm-mm. The women that do listen to him, there's very few. And it's not like they will listen to, like, personally for me, I'll listen to him, and then I'm like, you know what, I'm tired of being shouted at. I'm going to turn you off now. So I think the main target is men.
Well, I know personally, like, how I would, like, if I watch a podcast with him while I'm working, I get motivated to work more and work harder. If he's talking about, obviously, like, I don't look at his body and get motivated by it, but it's just everything in total.
Yeah, it's the mindset as well.
Like, it's the mindset, it's the work ethic, it's everything.
Thanks for watching, guys.